Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our patch 6.86 analysis. It actually took us a long time to just get to Night Stalker, but now we will continue with Nyx. Together with me again is Rain. Hello Rain.
Hello again.
So we already had a very informative first part of the first batch of heroes. We covered Alchemist and Night Stalker. I will also add a description and the link below in the video annotation. And now let's continue with Nyx Assassin. Nyx Assassin, so let's check it out. What are the patch notes for him? So their Impale duration got increased and the Spike Carapace cooldown got reduced, if I pronounce it correctly. So what do you make of that, Rain?
They're just two fairly small changes to Nyx's all-round skill set, to be honest. A nice longer stun and a shorter cooldown on Carapace. So not too much. It's probably just going to encourage more players to pick him, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If I remember correctly, in the recent patches he was not nerfed or buffed so much, right? Rather untouched, if I remember correctly. So yeah, let's see how this will unfold with Nyx. It's a decent hero, right? In the right hands, very capable hero.
Very good against intellect heroes, because obviously his second skill does more damage to int heroes. But yeah, some small all-round buffs there.
Yeah. Alright, next up we have Ogre Magi. I never know how to pronounce him. His spell base health regen got increased from 2.5 to 3.5. Ah, very nice buff for him.
Yeah, he's really tanky in the early game as it is anyway. I think he has something like 7 base armor, which is ridiculous. But 2.5 to 3.5 regen's good. It's going to make him more sustainable if he chooses to go in lane. So
yeah, he's a very capable support anyways, very useful, so this makes him even more valuable overall.
Yep.
Alright, next up we have Oracle. Very interesting, he has been enabled for Captain's mode. He has been now in the game for a while, so this is a very obvious choice from the developers. We have a lot of changes here. Fate's Addict cooldown got rescaled, the duration got reduced, and the cast range got rescaled, and Fortress and mana cost got reduced, and it can now target allies, and if you hover over here it does say that it does not root or hurt the ally, but purchase and applies the effect in the area. In addition, False Promise no longer continuously dispels after initial cast. This means it previously continuously removed all debuffs, including stuns. In addition, the duration got increased, the cooldown rescaled, and the mana cost reduced. A ton of changes. So Rain, what do you think about these changes?
Oracle's quite a strange hero, because obviously when he came out he was ridiculously strong, like ridiculously strong. And then he had some massive nerf. One of them obviously was his ultimate. It stopped people being invisible, which I didn't actually notice until I was in a game. I thought, hang on. But it looks like he's got a nice amount of reduced cooldowns and increased durations on his Fate's Edict, which is obviously really good.
Yep.
It's quite strange because it looks like they've had to balance some parts to enable him in Captain's mode. Like, apparently False Promise used to no longer continuously dispel after the initial cast, which means if an ally was stunned during a team fight, you could False Promise him and he would be unstunned, which is actually quite strange. I never knew that you could do that.
Yeah, me neither actually.
But they've changed the cooldown of it for longer, but they've increased the duration, which is actually pretty strong, and half the mana cost. That's actually a big change, the mana cost, because Oracle's quite a mana dependent hero. All of his spells cost quite a lot of mana. So that's actually really strong actually. It will be interesting to see, because I think Oracle might honestly be picked up at some points in higher MMR games, because his spells are very good. You can purge, you can change damage types on your carries. You can obviously save carries, heal them. You've got a really strong nuke. Obviously his Q is obviously a disable as well. He's a really hard hero to play, like properly to his full extent.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I also remember in the beginning it was ridiculous the amount of damage he could dish out in early game, like really ridiculous. But I think now these changes make him a more balanced hero and a more usable hero. So what do you think about the major role he will be played in? Which position?
Definitely as a support.
Yeah.
I mean, Fate's Edict looks like one of the main changes here, and it's really good again because it's an automatic disarm.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot in your skill set as Oracle that you can do, like a level 1 purge or a level 1 disarm, or a level 1 heal. Like all of his spells are just incredibly useful, but the hero as a whole last patch just seemed incredibly weak because of all the nerfs. But it might be good now.
Yeah, let's see if it's more balanced now. It sounds like it. When we read this here, it sounds like it's going to the right direction overall. Let's see how this will unfold.
His attack animations are really strong as well, so I think his zoning support he'd be really strong. Or even roaming.
Okay, that's for Oracle. Then Outworld Devourer. Their Astral Imprisonment got reworked, and it is described as Astral Imprisonment now deals damage to enemies in an area around the target when it ends. The target itself will also take damage if it is an enemy, deals a specific amount of magic damage, and affects a 400 area. You're only hurt once by this AoE with Scepter. It no longer steals intelligence and can now be targeted on creeps as well. Interesting. In addition, Astral Imprisonment cooldown got rescaled. Astral Imprisonment cast range got rescaled. Its duration got increased. And in addition, Essence Aura AoE got reduced from 1000 to the standard 900 aura radius, and Arcane Orb now steals a specific amount of intelligence per hit for 40 seconds, on heroes only, and intelligence growth got reduced. Very interesting.
Definitely the playstyle for OD players is going to completely and utterly change, because obviously his second skill, his imprisonment doesn't steal intelligence anymore. And more importantly, his base intelligence has been nerfed by 0.5. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because your ultimate isn't going to do as much damage, because obviously now his Q steals intelligence for 40 seconds. So you're going to need to right-click people down.
Yes.
A lot in order to do damage with the ultimate, which in terms of an AoE spell, his ultimate's going to be weaker because of his intelligence growth. But single target damage, I still think it's going to be really strong. He still has that nuke, because his Astral Imprisonment is now a nuke, which is quite an interesting change.
Yeah, unfortunately that means also for our guide actually that it's not that correct or valid anymore.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It's a shame, but yeah. So guys, if you watch my OD guide, be aware with these changes, it means that OD is played differently. Nevertheless, very interesting changes.
Yep.
He was a bit imba with his damage he could dish out with Arcane Orb, etc. So maybe this is reflected in this patch here to balance him out more. He was really strong.
He was very strong hero.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how he fares in the mid lane actually, because
if this is really impacting the overall farming capabilities and so on, and also 1-to-1 versus 1 fights.
Yeah. We'll see anyway.
Then PA. There the base intelligence got increased from 13+1 to 15+1.4.
That's just gonna give her a better mana pool to spam her Q when either farming or contesting a lane.
Yeah. So a better early game advantage.
Yeah, overall. And maybe with a better in-game you might be able to use Blink Strike a bit more leniently, because a lot of the time you'd have to save it because of either the cooldown or the quite a high mana cost actually for her mana pool. But,
so more harassment capabilities, more sustainability in lane for the early game. Yeah. Then Phoenix, a hero that I really like, really cool hero. There the sun rate, turn rate increased from 20 to 25, and supernova damage per second got increased. Oh, very nice. From the basic 60 to 100, so actually to 60, 90 and 120, so a slight increase in the later levels.
Yeah, very nice turn rate. I'm glad that's improved because when casting sun ray, it's very, very slow.
Yeah. It was really easy to escape if you were further away. That was not such a big issue actually to escape the sun rays. And with this is much more valuable now to use against weak enemy heroes that try to escape, right?
Yep, and the supernova DPS is obviously a nice change. It's just some nice buffs to Phoenix there.
So very nice buff for him.
Yep.
Then next up we have Puck. Their illusory orb mana cost got reduced from 150 to 80, 100, 121 to 40. Illusory orb cooldown got increased. The Waning Rift cooldown reduced, and Waning Rift no longer only silences heroes.
The mana cost is a very big issue. But the cooldown has obviously gone up because of that.
Yeah,
Waning Rift actually scales now. You can get it down to 13 seconds, which is actually really good. But it looks like they're just buffing Puck because in the last few patches it seems every single mid lane is just so much stronger than Puck.
Yes.
And I've had a lot of I've asked even some pro players actually why Puck is not being played. And a lot of them have literally just said that Earthshaker does what she does, but better. Even though Earthshaker doesn't have a silence, they said they would rather pick him.
Yep.
Because he's just a better initiator and does more damage output. And if you put Puck in the mid lane, you're sacrificing a pick like an SF, which I think everyone knows was a massive... Like, if you're on Radiant mid, you pick SF. And on the enemy team, you would then pick up something like Wyvern +1, or Dazzle +1 or something like that, and they don't work well with Puck mid, to be honest.
Yep.
And Puck doesn't really synergize with many heroes, so the buffs aren't massive because she could potentially be good with the next set of meta heroes, but we'll see.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, since TI2 we have not seen many Puck plays in the pro scene, right? Or like really sustainable pick rate for Puck, if I remember correctly. So maybe this will change with this patch here. We will see.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting balance between mana reduction and cooldown increase. I think that will synergize pretty well, especially for Illusory Orb, yeah. Then, as we have seen for all the other heroes, Scepter has been reworked for a lot of them, including Pudge. There, it actually reduces the cooldown of Meat Hook to 4 seconds and increases damage from 360 to 475. Please note that no longer grants previous Scepter bonuses that have been present before. In addition, dismember damage got actually increased as a percentage of Pudge's strength, and dismember now heals you for the damage it does. Oh, very interesting change.
GG Pudge.
This is insane, yeah.
Especially at lower MMRs, he's going to be picked a lot of games. I think for the next month or so, nearly every game.
Yeah, that's quite obvious here.
The Scepter rework on Pudge is actually quite strong because players would build Scepter on him anyway. So having this buff of a Meat Hook to 4 seconds and the pure damage increase to 475. That's pure damage, by the way. That's insane.
Yeah, that's really
insane. And Dismember's obviously been buffed as a... Oh no, it's been reduced.
It's been reduced, but the percentage of strength got increased, right? If I remember that, if I read this correctly.
Yeah.
So it's not just a standard damage increase, but it's dependent on the strength he has.
Yeah, it synergizes well with Flesh Rim or Flesh Heap or whatever it's called, because the amount of stacks you have from killing people obviously is going to increase your strength, which is going to increase the multiplier of your ulti damage. So the more kills you get, the stronger you're going to get anyway. But so, it looks like that's going to be even stronger now.
So it's kind of a snowballing effect here a bit. If you have a lot of kills early on, this can snowball out of control, I think.
And it looks like the old Agnum's effect for Pudge, where the Dismember would heal you, is just being normally applied to the ultimate anyway, which is ridiculously strong. All-round Pudge buffs there. It's quite a hard deal to lane him at the moment, because Pudge does get crushed by a lot of the meta mid laners. I know in lower MMRs you can get away with laning him mid. But you might see more roaming Pudges as well, or Dismember, or support pudges,
Yep.
maybe getting experience from pulling lane and things like that. But yeah, a lot more pudge games by the looks of it. It's a really, really strong buff.
Yeah.
Strong buffs actually to a fun hero. So
yeah, let's see. Let's hope we see him a bit more. I like Pudge. It's a cool hero.
Yep.
It's also the community favorite, right? If you check it out at Dota Buff, I think he's still one of the highest picked heroes of all time.
Yep.
Then Pugna. There, Decreepify no longer slows allies.
Strange.
I didn't even know that. Did you know that?
No, I didn't, but I don't get why. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, why did it slow them before anyway?
In the first place, why? I think that's a bug, right?
Maybe. It might have been intentional because you're stopping them from being attacked. So with physical damage. And maybe as a compensate to that, they're just gonna get slowed as well. But
yeah, strange. Strange.
It makes better sense, to be fair.
Yeah.
So probably a good change.
So probably a fix in my point of view. If somebody knows it, please write it in the comment section. We would be curious if this actually had also a purpose. Then Queen of Pain. There the Scream of Pain damage got reduced and Sonic Wave travel speed reduced. Okay, some nerfs to Queen of Pain.
I think travel speed is the more important factor because Queen of Pain's going to get level 4 Scream of Pain pretty quick anyway. Just means the first level in it is obviously going to be quite just a little bit weaker, but in the second level, by the looks of it, it's going to be stronger, and then it eventually ends up at the same. So that's not too bad, I don't think, but the travel speed's quite important.
Yeah, that's quite an important factor, yeah.
Yeah, you're more likely going to be able to run away from it now.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the time, if you were near the edge of her ulti range and she ultied, you'd still die.
Yep.
Because it would just clip you, but now people getting away like that might actually live, which is quite a big...
Yeah, through 200 range is quite a nerf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think overall, if we look back at recent patches, she has been picked constantly, right? So
yeah, I'm really not surprised at that nerf, to be honest. She's a very, very strong, versatile hero.
Yeah.
Which can achieve a lot, not just in the late game, but in the early game as well.
All right. Then Ricky, the low MMR Elo Hell hero. He got actually removed from Captain's mode, and that's because his permanent invisibility got reworked. Now it actually grants a specific amount of damage when attacking from behind, and invisible fade time is also scaling now, and it no longer grants HP regeneration. That's actually a huge thing. In addition, also Blink Strike got back to basic ability without charges. So if you look here, these are the damage, cooldown and mana cost values. In addition, we have a new ultimate for Ricky. It's called Tricks of the Trade, and this does the following. Ricky phases out of the world for up to a specific time, attacking every enemy from behind in a 450 AoE around him. He also attacks once when phasing out and then once per second while being phased out. And it's important to note, this can be cancelled out at any time. In addition, the strength growth got reduced, the agility growth got reduced, base armor got reduced, and smokescreen no longer slows turn rates. I also didn't know that it actually does that. Very interesting.
It does actually look like an overall buff to Ricky. I think it's an overall nerf to his solo kill potential, because Blink Strike charges means you can just constantly gap close. So if you've got the damage, that target's going to die.
Yeah.
Pretty simple there. But the way the Ricky's going to be played might change. I've seen him played a lot safe lane since the change, and people have actually been building things like Battle Fury in him because of his ultimate. But for his ultimate to do the most damage by the looks of it, is to build agility items, obviously, because you're attacking people from behind several times. And that's based on your agility for the backstab. So if you could go something like crit, and then after building the original Battle Fury, it looks like that would do a ridiculous amount of damage if they're still within the radius. It does look like, again though, his single target kill potential is a bit weaker, but still should be prominent anyway. His base armor's reduced by 1, so he's a little bit weaker.
Yeah.
His strength growth got reduced a lot as well, which means this hero is going to be a lot squishier. And even his agility growth's been reduced, which means his backstab damage is going to be naturally reduced. So that's his damage output. And he's going to have a lot less armor reduced as well, because obviously agility grants armor. So this hero is going to be a lot squishier.
Exactly. Also with the overall reduction in the healing, right? So it actually does no longer grant HP regeneration. The permanent invisibility.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot better in team fights.
That was really powerful, that you could just go somewhere, heal up, and then gank again. Constantly do the same thing, and this is now really not the case anymore with this patch.
Yeah, that's pretty strong actually. Ricky's sustainability seems to be quite nerfed, quite heavily. The smoke screen no longer slowing turn rate is quite big as well, because people had a lot of trouble turning into a direction away from Ricky in the smoke screen and getting out, but now
exactly, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous, yeah.
So it does. There in many ways, Ricky has been nerfed, especially towards his sustainability. But I think as a team fight hero, in terms of what he can do to multiple targets, he's much better.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works. Everyone's going to be playing. It does look like Ice Frog's wanting people to play Ricky in a different way.
Totally. But that's a very nice change, I think.
Yeah.
I like it. Next up is Rubik. There, the Fate Bolt attack damage reduction got increased from 14 to 20 for level 1 until 32 to 35 for level 5.
Nice buff to Rubik. That's going to be a lot better early on. In fact, it's quite a big change for early on. To be fair, that's 6 damage reduction. More in the early game, and it ends up with 3, which isn't too big once it's max level. It's a bit later on, and those kinds of damage doesn't really matter so much, but that's a definite early buff to Rubik, which is good.
So you think he has more sustainability in lane early game?
Yeah, I think in lane, when you're trading with somebody, obviously the attack damage reduction is if they choose to trade back, they're not going to do as much.
Yeah.
So it is good.
Alright. Then next up we have Sand King. There again the Scepter got reworked. It now does a double Boros Strike cast range and applies Caustic Finale plus Poison to heroes, and it no longer grants previous Scepter bonuses. In addition, the base strength got increased from 18 to 21, and Caustic Finale slow increased from 25 to 30%. So very interesting buffs to this hero.
Annoying buffs to this hero, because I've played 2 games against Sand Kings that have built Agnums, and I've been literally cross-map stunned by his Q, because he built one of the new items, which we'll probably go over later.
Yes,
and obviously coupled with the Agnum Scepter, it was literally a cross-map stun. It was ridiculous.
What? Alright.
Yeah, it's well, not quite, but it's really, really, really long. Like, you could probably cast it from one end of your screen to the other.
That's
it's
insane.
Really, really stupid. His base strength's increased, which is obviously going to make him a bit tankier, and it's going to give it more base damage. And the Caustic Finale slow is increased from 25% to 30%. That's still a strong skill, and it's obviously a good farming mechanism as well with the AoB.
So in general, you think he is valuable in jungle, also with the map changes?
I think he was very hard to lane because he wasn't very viable to pick, because obviously picking junglers in past patches was something that was seen as bad because it weakens your lanes.
Yeah.
But he might be more viable now. We'll see. Obviously, Agnum Scepter is quite hard to build on supports and things like that. So 4.2k to increase the range of your stun as well is good. But it's whether people see whether they can get it early enough to make it useful, I think, with Sand King.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, let's see. I think maybe with these changes we could see either like a, whatever, let's say position 2, 3 or jungle Sand King, and he might be more valuable now. Let's see. Yeah. Then Shadow Demon. There the Disruption Illusion duration got actually increased from 5 to 6 for level 1 and 8 to a massive 12 at level 4, sorry.
It's a nice increase in duration. I did think the illusions for Shadow Demon did die a bit too quickly.
Yeah.
So
that was
it's
really
a nice
annoying.
buff to him.
Yeah.
He's not picked so much. He's a very good hero to pick if enemy teams have things like Kunkkas or like a Necro, where if a Necro were to ult or a Kunkka were to combo someone, you could just disrupt them. He's also very good against kiteable carries because you can obviously purge them, really slow them to like their death. But yeah, Shadow Demon's seen as quite one of the weaker supports at the moment.
Yeah, I haven't seen him much. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that change is going to make him more viable as such, but it's a change that is good.
Yeah.
Needed to happen, I think.
Alright, then Shadow Fiend. It's also a hero that has been seen a lot in the recent patch. And now, for him, also the Scepter got reworked that Requiem of Souls waves now return back to Shadow Fiend, dealing 40% damage on the way back. And all of the damage the Requiem does to heroes on its way back heals you. Very interesting. In addition, base armor got reduced by 1, and Shadow Ray's mana cost increased to from 75 to 90.
I don't know if I will be building Agnums on Shadow Fiend. I've seen it in one of my games, and my mid laner, to be fair, he rushed it, which if you were to go this build, you shouldn't rush it. But
yeah.
I think if you did build Ags, you'd have to get it as a luxury item sort of a lot later on. And he was behind quite a long spell of the game and actually stopped us from being able to push. Plus, if his ultimate's very reliant on you having souls, and obviously say if you've bought back in a game, or you don't have a lot of souls and they're pushing because you've just died or something, that's not going to do a lot of damage, and you've spent 4,200 gold on a skill that's basically going to improve your ultimate, where it might not do a lot of damage in those cases, or if not really any. So I think the way to go with Shadow Fiend really is just still the standard way. I don't think getting Agnums is that great. The heal sounds quite nice, but other than that, I don't think I'd buy it.
Absolutely, yeah. If you think about the cost and the advantage you get out of this item is less than the standard items. Of course, it seems to be very powerful, but this only makes sense if you're ahead in farm and if you want to really wreck in like cludding team fights. But other than that, I don't see value in this Ag Anims change.
Yeah, IM slots are very precious on a hero like Shadow Fiend as well, and I think taking another one up with this Agnums change is probably not something you want to do.
Yeah.
It does look cool though. If you want to try it in like a normal game, I think it's definitely something worth looking at because it does look pretty cool. But
yeah, maybe just try it out, whatever. But yeah. If you have the luxury slot.
Base armor reduction is actually quite big. It's going to make, especially in the pro scene, him a bit weaker at mid.
Yep.
It'll take more right-click damage, obviously.
In addition, with the Shadow Ray's mana cost increase.
That's a very good change. I was hoping it would go up to something like 100 actually, but 90 I suppose is fine. The problem with the reason Shadow Fiend, in my opinion, was so imbo was because he had a 75 mana cost for a nuke that did 300 damage at max level.
Exactly, absolutely.
That's ridiculous, and that did need. I think an SF needed to pay more of his sustainability in his mana pool to cast something that much. Either that or nerf the nuke itself. But yeah, he's been really strong in the pro scene, especially if he was on the Radiant side because of the nearest jungle camps.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll go over the map changes later. But
exactly.
There's a lot of things IceFrog's done this patch that's made Shadow Fiend a bit more of a weaker hero, including the map changes to the Radiant. But yeah, good changes to Shadow Fiend, I think, because he was, I think, too strong.
He was too strong.
Patches.
I absolutely agree, yeah. Then a very useful support hero, Shadow Shaman. There, his Shackle's total damage got increased from 120, actually for the later levels, sorry, from there 240, 280, 300, 360. And Mass Serpent Wards require 2 hits to destroy. Oh, previously had a specific amount of HP, depending on the level.
These are really big changes to Shadow Shaman. The Shackle's damage is really good. Sort of taking into effect at the 2nd to 4th levels.
Yep.
Maybe people might start maxing that over his Q, maybe not. It depends what role you're playing. If you're obviously roaming, then probably more levels than Shackles is probably the way to go.
But this is really annoying in mid, right? Because we have seen people like Purge play Shadow Shaman mid, and that can be really devastating, actually.
Yeah, Shadow Shaman mid's quite strong, actually.
Yeah.
The Mass Serpent Ward's 2 hits to destroy is actually a really big change. That's a huge change. I think when I've seen in even some pro games, it might have been Aoi that was playing Shadow Shaman. He would Serpent Ward, and the enemy team would have something like an SF or a Gyro, and they just right-click all the Serpents down and then go fight.
Yep.
The fact they take 2 hits to destroy is actually really good. It makes his ulti a lot stronger. If you are wanting to take a tower and the enemy team are behind it, if you cast it, before they would just start right-clicking it down, but now they might think twice because they take 2 hits to destroy. So it takes twice as long, in theory, to kill these wards. That's a really big change. It's a good one as well.
Yeah, very nice buffs here. And anyways, he's a really, really useful support hero, also seen a lot in pro games. So this will make him even more useful, I think.
Yep.
Next up, Silencer. There we also have a new ability that Curse of the Silent got now replaced with Arcane Curse, and it works the follows. It targets an area, causes enemies to take damage over time. Anytime they cast a spell, the duration of the debuff is increased, and if an enemy affected by this debuff is silenced, the debuff will pause. It means no damage and no time elapses. Note that spellcast means the same stuff. What? Look at that note. Spellcast means the same stuff as COTS rules were. Stuff that procs magic stick and isn't an item. What the hell is that? Alright, somebody was lazy there. Probably not sure yet what to write, I think. And Glaives of Wisdom is no longer a unique attack modifier. That's also a huge thing, huge change, I think.
Definitely a buff to support and core silencer here. His original spell, Curse of the Silent, was actually really bad. And every time I saw him pick it higher in the Mars or even the pro scene, people wouldn't even put levels in it.
Yeah, it's really, really useless. Also, when I play them, it doesn't do much.
Yeah, and as soon as they get like level 11, where they've already got max levels in the 2 levels in the ultimate and max levels everywhere else, they just start leveling stats. So it's definitely a good change. And apparently, Ag's Refresher Orb on this hero is ridiculous because in a team fight, even if people BKB, they're still going to be able to cast spells when you silence if they BKB or something. But the fact that the Q is applied means if anyone casts spells in, because it stacks with the Agnum Scepter, if anyone casts spells, they're going to take a lot of damage.
Yep.
I think it's like 35 damage times 7 times 2. So whatever that number is, if they cast spells in that duration, they're going to take a lot of damage, and it's going to make a bigger difference than his old skill did. I can actually work out how much they could do, but
that's really massive. Yeah, if I think about it now, that's actually crazy.
It is a stupid amount of damage.
Yeah. So even more like damage output, and maybe because of that, also Glaives of Wisdom is now not a unique attack modifier anymore. Probably because together with that would be super imba, right?
Yep. So so when the global silence is over, if they cast a spell afterwards, which a lot of people will do in a team fight, and then you refresh and then you go again, they could potentially take minimum 490, and that's just for casting 1 spell each time. So if they cast 2, then the effect will refresh and go over. It's quite interesting that it stacks with Refresher Orb, that it applies 2 instances of it.
Oh wow, okay. That's insane.
Yeah, it does.
Is that intentional?
I think it is, because of how weak his Q was originally.
Yeah.
Glaives of Wisdom, not an attack modifier. This basically means if you wanted to, I don't know whether it would be any good on Core Silencer, but you could build things like Desolator, you could build things like Scaddy on him now, and they would work with his second skill.
Yeah, before they didn't,
But yeah, big changes to Silencer there. Good ones.
Very big changes, yeah, I like them as well. We need to do a lot of new guides, I see here.
Yeah, big patch.
Big patch, but I'm so far positively surprised. Really, really useful changes and nice balance changes. That's also why it's really called Balance of Power patch, that really nicely fits the overall tone so far we saw.
Yep.
Alright, we are soon through with the heroes. Next up is Skywrath Mage. Their concussive shot mana cost got reduced from 110 to 95.
Good change to Skywrath there. Skywrath is just going to have a bit more sustainability when easier for roaming or in lane. The mana cost there isn't too big, but it's good nonetheless. It's just a small buff to show players that he needs to be probably picked a bit more, to be honest.
Yeah, he can be a really imba hero. In the right hands, he can dish out so much damage, it's insane.
Yeah.
Then, Slardar. Amplified damage now only reveals the target rather than the area around it.
That's definitely a good change to Slardar. It was actually very strong last patch, and I think the amplified damage actually revealed too much about the enemy team.
Okay.
If it only reveals the target rather than the area around it, you don't know where the rest of their team are necessarily. You only got the vision on the target, and I think that's something that probably should have been changed a while ago, but a lot of people a while ago weren't even picking Slardar, so I suppose it was...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But now he's being picked a lot more. It does seem that it is quite strong. Being able to ulti somebody and then seeing the whole team for its full duration is a bit weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that's right. This is much more reasonable.
Yeah.
Then for Storm Spirit, the electric vortex mana cost got reduced from 100 to 130 to a constant 85.
I'm not surprised with that one actually, because Storm Spirit got nerfed after 6.84 when he was being picked mid quite a lot. That was the less Shrek patch, basically.
Yes.
But I think they increased his Q to like 100 mana from 70, which is quite big because it gave him less sustain when farming. And because they nerfed Bottle as well, Storm Spirit's going to find it hard to manage his mana now because of that Bottle nerf and because of his nerf to his Q.
Yeah, we'll get to it later as well.
Yeah, we will. The electric vortex mana cost though means he's still gonna have a bit of mana left over, which is okay. But
they had to do it. Yeah, I see it now with the bottle. Together with the bottle change, that has to be something in that sense. Otherwise, Storm Spirit is pretty much useless.
I think Bloodstone Rush honestly might be the way to go on Storm now, or if not, it'd be interesting to see how people manage his mana better if they go good instead. But yeah.
We'll see. That's actually an interesting change, having a lot of implications now, if you think about it more. Yeah.
Yep.
Sven, there the base damage got increased by 4, and God's Strength Scepter Aura bonus damage is also increased now.
Looks like they're just buffing Sven's damage. I've seen in especially programs and last few patches, Sven just gets kited around so much and can't often deal the damage he wants to, even when he's fully built. So the base damage increase is good, so if he does actually have a closer gap, he does a bit more damage, which is okay.
Yeah.
And support Sven here is being encouraged as well if he goes Agnes. So
okay, yeah.
Be interested to see if we see some more support Svens. I very much doubt we will.
That's interesting. Okay.
What you do on support Sven is either max the E or the Q and just roam with another support and dive towers and then build Agnems for another carry.
That makes sense. Ah, wow. Okay, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't think we'll see it, but
yeah, it's strange to think about the pure support Sven.
Yep.
Okay, next up, Templar Assassin. There, the refraction is now always visible.
I think people wanted to see a damage nerf to TA.
Exactly, yeah. I was like, dude, is this everything?
But it's not actually. It's actually. I think at higher MMRs it's a bigger change. It's actually a big enough change to probably make people think maybe I'm not going to pick this. The fact you couldn't see refraction made players feel uncomfortable about diving a TA, which I wouldn't advise anyway, or even going in on a TA, because in this clicking on it you wouldn't be able to see if a refraction was about to go or not, and that's quite big that you can visibly see it. If she's melded, you obviously can't see it, but
yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think it's actually a big change because you know when you can start using your burst on TA when a refraction's gone. Like, you know when you can start putting in most of your damage instead of wasting it on a refraction charge. So I think it is very big. It might take a bit longer for lower MMRs to adjust to it and work out that actually you can save your spells as opposed to worry about it. But yeah, it's a change to TA that's actually very big. So maybe they didn't need to nerf the damage, we'll see, but I think she could still be a good pub stomper. She can still farm ancients early and things like that. So
yeah, Wagamama will be pleased, right? That I think this change is still okay for him. He will still be very powerful with him.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But he will definitely keep in mind that his enemies might be a bit more reluctant to gank him mid and things like that.
Yeah, so people, if you don't know Wagamama and want to learn TA, watch his stream. He is one of the best TA. He is the best TA player in the world. So he is amazing. Check him out. Terrorblade there, nothing special, only that he was enabled in Captain's mode. I think this is obvious because he has been patched a lot in the recent patches and now it's stable. He's not too powerful, not too weak. I think he found his position in the meta. What do you think?
Yeah, they tested him with his last change when they reworked his Q being an AoE and other changes to him. They removed him from Captain's mode because he needed a rework. They didn't know if he was going to be OP, much like DP, Void, Ricky and Doom in this patch. And seems that he's not actually amazingly strong, so Icefall probably feels comfortable with putting him in Captain's mode in case he's going to get picked, which I don't think he will. But
yeah, it's sad. I like him, but yeah. Then Tidehunter, also a hero that is picked a lot, also in the pro scene. There, now he also has Scepter, and it causes Gush to become a ground-targeted wave ability that travels for 1,800 range. Oh my god. It's an AoE for 240, has a projectile speed of 1,500 and a cooldown of 7. In addition, Anchor Smash cast time got reduced, and Ravage stun duration rescaled. This
big
is
buffs.
Big, yeah.
I actually think Tidehunter Agnums is legit now.
This
that
is
could
insane.
Actually be legit. The AoE Gush is really good because you can follow it up from a Ravage, and you could slow multiple people instead of a single target. That's actually really big.
That's big, yeah. If I think about it, holy Christ,
is it
always strong in lane.
4.2k for an Agnums? We don't know yet, but the skill in itself actually looks pretty cool, and it does look like it could pay off. Depends on the game, really. I mean, if you're against a lot of melees, I think Gush is a much stronger skill. If you're against a lot of ranged heroes and you're playing Tide, then not so much. But you could kite a lot of melee heroes better with that AoE Gush, definitely.
So for his positioning, will you think something will change in terms of lanes?
I hope that he would be a bit more viable as an offlaner again.
Yeah.
The thing is, he gets, even though he doesn't die as much as other offlaners, he still gets zoned by tri-lanes a lot. And Tidehunter picks get punished a lot early on because Tidehunter can't physically do a lot to stop an aggressive support lineup on the enemy team. Like, if a Tidehunter TPs into a lane and he's not 6, what's he going to do?
Exactly.
He's not going to be able to stop a lot. He can reduce the damage and slow them, but that's kind of it, really.
Yeah, that's his typical utility role, right?
But yeah,
his ultimate stun, that's it.
Yeah, it's an investment to late game and even mid game team fights by picking Tidehunter. You're sacrificing a lot in the early game, which is probably why pro players aren't picking them up so much.
But I really like this change. It's really cool. Yeah. Alright, then next up we have Timbersaw. Their Whirling Death debuff duration got increased from 7 to 11. Whirling Death mana cost got decreased to a constant 70. And reactive armor duration got rescaled from a constant 16 to a specific amount, which is 14 to 20 at max level.
But the thing with Timbersaw is, I don't think he's still a strong offlaner, and the reason because of that is his reactive armor. Before, what would happen was it would apply as the attack was coming in, which meant as the damage was hitting you, the bonus armor would be applied. Whereas now, as soon as the attack lands, then you get the armor, which means you're still taking the damage before it's applied, which is a bit... It's not good, especially playing as an offlaner. So I feel that because he doesn't have that extra tankiness, he's not going to be able to contest his own farm very well, or at least very comfortably. The whirling death debuff duration increase is actually very big. The mana cost is 70 at all levels. That's really cool.
That's a huge buff, right?
Yeah, any form of mana sustain on Timbersaw is very good.
Yeah.
The reactive armor duration rescale, again, he's weaker earlier in that first level because they've reduced it for the first level, but it does scale better, which is good. But I feel early levels in Timbersaw, it's very hard to contest your lane. If you're up against a dual lane, it's probably a lot easier, actually. But tri-lanes or lanes with an aggressive support, like a silencer or something, Timber can't do anything, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah. But Sumail and players like that, they've been doing safe lane Timbersaw.
Alright.
And putting a carry like SF mid, which works because obviously Timber can farm there, get early Bloodstone. Good levels, nice burst. But he's a very strong hero, it's just a matter of, in the off lane, he's not got a lot of sustain, which is a shame.
Yeah, but I think it's really nice that the reactive armor now has a scaling, not a constant 16, that makes him more sustainable in general.
Yeah,
like nice. for the late game, right? There was always a bit the problem. I had the feeling that in late game it's really hard to hit usability with Timbersaw.
Yeah.
Then, Tinker. Actually, since the change with the Ancients, from my experience, didn't see much anymore. So let's check out what they changed here. So. One thing is that laser cast time got improved from 0.53 to 0.4, and laser cast range got increased. So slight buffs here.
Yeah, nice buffs to Tinker. He's being buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed. The thing with Tinker that we normally see is he gets buffed and then he becomes very strong, and then Ice Frog just puts him in the bin again, and then no one plays him.
Yeah, that is what happened with the Ancients, right? He could not farm the Ancients anymore because like that he was really crazily overpowered.
I think that was a change that really killed the hero. The cast time's good. It means you're going to be able to get that laser off, which is obviously pure damage. It's actually a very good spell in the mid lane. And the cast range is a lot bigger as well. It's actually quite a big deal, especially targets that are running away from you when you've like second skilled them. Maybe they've taken some robot damage, maybe some right click. Because it's pure damage, you can work out exactly how much HP they need left until you can laser them and kill them. Yeah. Because the cast point, the cast time's improved and the cast range is improved, you're more likely going to get that laser off. So that's a very strong buff to Tinker for the, especially for 1v1 mids.
Yeah, I totally see that. Yeah. All right, then Tiny. A very interesting change that the craggy exterior now triggers on attacks landing rather than on start.
That's probably, it's definitely a nerf to Tiny, because if you were to just right click Tiny and craggy procs, the attack won't even land and you'll just be stunned and you'd look like an idiot. So the fact that the attack still lands is quite a big buff. A lot of Tinies would get away on low HP because the enemy would get craggied. Yeah. But if the attack lands, then obviously that's not going to make a difference. So it is a big nerf, in a way, to Tiny sustain. I didn't think they were going to nerf his damage, because if you nerf Avalanche or Tosh, then he's not going to be able to do his combo that he's famous for.
Yeah.
And now completely changed hero, so I'm not surprised at that. But nerfing his sustain is probably the way to go with that hero, definitely.
Makes sense, totally makes sense. Then Treant Protector, their Leech seed mana cost got reduced. The Overgrowth AoE got increased from 675 to a massive 800. And Scepter Overgrowth damage and Vision AoE got also increased. Okay. Ice Frog wants to see Treant.
This is basically going to make... I think Treant's been a lot more of a, especially in pubs, a bit more of an AFK farming, provide vision kind of hero. Less of a team fight hero, which kind of sucks, to be honest.
Yeah, but the farming tree, right?
Yeah, his ultimate is so strong now, though. We might just see more Arcane Boot Blink Treant Protectors. Blinking and annulling. I think
Arcane Boot Blink? That sounds insane.
Yeah, it was the old way of playing him. his ultimate's really strong to get off.
Okay.
It's not quite a ravage, but it's a massive AoE stun that keeps him locked down, basically.
Yeah.
But I still think Axon Treant as well is the way to go. I still think going Blink on him is good because of the ultimate. But obviously, if you've got lots of your little Agnum's trees everywhere across the map, then it might not be as needed. But it's good. Good team fight buffs.
Yeah, nice buffs there. Yeah, and he can be so annoying, like healing towers, have vision over the entire fucking jungle. It's insane. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And next up, Troll Warlord. There, I hope I can again pronounce this correctly. Fervor got reduced from 20 between 35 to 15 to 30. And Fervor max stacks increased from 4 to 6. And ranged whirling axis cooldown got reduced.
The stack increase for Fervor is actually a big buff, and because of that they've had to reduce the rest of it, which is quite a good change actually. The range whirling axis cooldown being reduced is a good thing for his own sustain. Obviously that's going to wait, is it the range ones or the melee ones? Okay, that's the range ones, so that's going to apply
ranged,
to 5.
Yeah.
But I think it's not quite a rework, but it's a different way of approaching remaking Troll Warlord. I'm not sure if it's going to make him stronger or weaker, to be honest, but I remember I think it was 6.82 when he was ridiculously.
Yeah, that was insane.
I don't think he's ever going to be like that for a while, but he's definitely a viable carry, I think.
Yeah, I think like it for me, if I read this now, it's again early game buff, like. Although no, not really, because only in the later, for range whirling axis, only in the later levels you have this huge cooldown reduction. Yeah, so maybe for team fights in the like mid to late range, depending how you level him, it can be a nice buff. But yeah, overall it's still a bit cryptic for me actually if I read this like so. Yeah, let's see how this will change in the meta.
The attack speed. Okay, so it's the attack speed that they've nerfed, but the stacks have increased. So I'd say that's still something. I think they've made him better in that sense. The whirling axis cooldown is still quite big in the early game because people tend to
Yeah, just harass, right?
Oh, people tend to max it anyway.
Yeah.
First before anything. So.
That's why I thought it. Yeah, it's not really early, but like mid game there we can really have an effect with the range whirling axis, and you can maybe more easily get a kill.
Yeah, definitely.
Then next up we have Tusk. Their movement speed got reduced from 305 to 300. Ice Shard's damage reduction got changed. Snowball can no longer pull units out of Black Hole or Chronosphere. and Snowball gather radius got reduced. Okay.
These are good changes to Tusk. They've not killed the hero, they've made him viable, but they've made him weaker in the early game. Yeah. The movement speed reduction is just like the one with Bane. It's a fairly good change because it's going to make him a bit weaker in that 2v2 pro scene mid lineup. This is more of a pro scene change. Obviously in pubs the difference might not be noticed so much, especially at lower MMRs. The Ice Shard's damage reduction is good, definitely needed. Snowball can no longer pull units out of Black Hole Chrono. It shouldn't have done that anyway, to be honest. People don't pick Void the last few patches or Enigma, so I've actually never seen that happen or didn't know it did that, but that was pretty dumb if it did.
That was super silly, yeah.
And the gather radius is smaller as well, which is good, which means you can't save allies as efficiently or effectively as you can before. Yeah. So some nerfs there to Tusk, which I think everyone knew was inbound, to be honest.
Yeah, totally reasonable again.
Yep.
Then for Undying, the Tombstone zombie damage got reduced. That's, I think, already a very good change. Tombstone bounty increased, and Tombstone no longer grants 44 XP.
The Tombstone damage reduction is fairly big, not amazingly big, but each zombie's going to do less damage. The bounty increase, this is a nerf to Undying, because a lot of Undyings are going to be a lot more skeptical as to whether they want to put down a Tombstone or not.
Yeah, exactly. No.
which is, that's pretty big. And the tombstone no longer grants 44 XP. That's probably a good thing. People will get just a lot of EXP for killing that tombstone, especially if a support gets a lone kill on it or something early.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's just the balancing between gold and XP here, I think. Right?
Some good nerfs to Undying there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's maybe sad for people who play Undying, but on the other hand, it's also a nice overall balance change because he had a super high win rate, and that's also probably why they changed the Tombstone zombie damage. Because in early game, if you place the Tombstone well, you can super easily get a kill with another stunner hero. It's insane. So with this, it will be balanced out a bit better. Yeah.
He was a strong hero in the sense where if a pro team or even a pub team picked him, it was like, hey, you can't fight me early game. That's basically how it was. You are not going to fight my team early game, you're not going to dive my mid lane, and you're not going to dive my safe lane. I'm going to TP and Tombstone, and you're going to get punished for it.
Yeah,
but now people are going to be a bit more reluctant about putting that Tombstone down, purely because of that bounty increase.
Yeah, for example, an Undying Earthshaker combo, whatever, or Undying Wench combo was really, really strong. You could just stun and then place a Tombstone, stun, and easy kill.
Yep.
Really easy kill. So maybe, with this damage reduction, it might not be that easy anymore. We will see.
Mm-hmm.
Then Ursa. Also, Scepter was added for Ursa, and it now allows you to cast your ultimate while disabled and reduced cooldown from 50 to 30 to 30 to 18 seconds, and Enrage is no longer purgeable.
Okay, why have they buffed Ursa? I don't know. I think he was fairly strong last patch.
Yeah, exactly.
Team Liquid made him work really well with an Omni Knight as well. And a Darkseer Surge as well. But this hero did not need a buff, but he's got one anyway. So Enrage is no longer purgeable. That means if you build something like a Diffusal Blade, or you have like an Oracle Q or something like that on him when he's ulting, it means you can't remove it. So you can't stop him from taking that 80% less damage, basically. And the Ags upgrade is interesting because it reduces the cooldown and it allows him to basically ulti out of a disable. So kiting Ursa, even playing supports to disable Ursa is still not necessarily going to be a solution to him.
Yeah, that's
so they've actually buffed him. These are two fairly strong buffs to this hero. I'm not sure whether Ags will be legit on him, definitely, but I would definitely think of picking it up if I've got BKB and I'm still being and it gets to 5 seconds and I'm having a hard time.
Yeah,
Lincoln still might be the better option, but this is definitely a change that's quite strange and could be Imber. I'm not actually quite sure. I wouldn't necessarily build Scepter on so I'd have to wait and see if other people did it.
Yeah.
See how strong it was. But the Enrage being purgeable is quite strong as well. Very strong.
Yeah, okay.
It was against especially PL. Ursa had a very hard time, and now I think if he goes something like a Battle Fury, the fact that Enrage is no longer purgeable, you might be able to deal with him a bit better, because obviously he does have that AoE as well. But yeah.
Phew, yeah, I'm surprised. With Ursa, I'm really surprised, yeah. Then for Revenge for a Spirit, there was also a Scepter bonus added, and it's the following. Causes you to spawn a Vengeance Illusion when you die. The Vengeance Illusion deals 50% damage, takes 150% damage, and is able to use all your abilities, but not items. And the Vengeance Illusion lasts until she revives. That's amazing. Note that it still grants previous Scepter bonuses to Nether Swap. Holy Christ.
Something myself and some people I was talking with that found out about this change is that she gets refreshed cooldowns on that dead spirit. So say if she dies and she's used a stun, a second skill and a swap, that new spirit that comes back when she dies will have all her cooldowns back. So she can stun, swap, second skill again.
Holy Christ, yeah, that's insane.
That's incredibly strong. This lasts as well until she dies. She comes back even.
Yeah.
Agnum's is 100% definitely legit on Vengeful Spirit. It is very good.
This is a really strong change.
Yeah, it could end up being a very strong change for
Yeah, also on Reddit, people were complaining that why the hell do we still have a death indicator there? For example, especially with items like these and changes like these, it can be super annoying because you always have that pop-up on the upper left corner, right?
Yeah.
So they should maybe also fix that, but usually they listen to us, so...
Yeah. People just complain on Reddit and they'll do something.
And then they solve it, yeah. Oh, Venomancer, one of my favorite heroes, and I'm already pleased what I'm reading here. It is that Venomous scale cooldown got reduced from 22 to 21, 20, 19, and 18.
Yeah, just buffing Venomancer in the early game, basically.
Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know, it was super mana intense, kind of useless sometimes, so I really welcome this change.
Yeah, it's quite nice in the sense that I think it slows them by 50% at all levels, if I'm not mistaken. So that's actually a Venomancer in the early game is really strong. It stops people from running away if you're trying to gank them as well. And the cooldown reduction isn't
but still, you
the
need
biggest change because it's only by 1 second intervals, 4 overall, but it's still nice.
I think it's really good for later gaming, for the later gaming phases. Of course, still like 21 seconds, it's huge, and also the mana cost for Venomous Scale is huge. So you really need to land it and get a kill. Otherwise, I don't think it's really valuable. Also, people always argue, yeah, which skill you should rather, which skill points you should rather spend. So with this, I think it's more valuable for the mid to late game. You can like spam it more often in team fights, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then Visage, their stone form AoE increased from 340 to 350.
Basically, his birds stuns have a bigger stun radius, but not by very much. So I don't think
it's
that's
a small change.
Yeah.
So we can go on quickly here, I guess. Warlock, excuse me. There his base strength got increased by 4, massive, and Shadow Word duration increased from 11 to 12 seconds.
His base damage increase is quite big. It's going to allow him
That's
to
big, yeah.
CS a lot better, harass a lot in lane, which is really good. The attack time of the beetles got improved, which means they're going to do a lot more damage than what they did before. So if you do get beetles by Reaver, be a bit more aware of the ticking damage you're taking.
We're at Warlock.
Yeah. Oh, we're at Warlord.
Yeah. So his base strength got increased and Shadow Word duration got increased.
Okay.
But also Weaver's base damage got increased. But we get there in a second.
with Warlock, the base strength increase is good. It's going to make him a bit more tankier in the early game. That's actually quite a big base strength increase, actually, for
that's a lot.
Supporty sort of hero.
So he can
Shadow Word duration.
Yeah, he can more easily right-click heroes. Harass them even more.
That's an extra tick for Shadow Word, which is actually quite strong. You'll do more damage. You'll do a much better heal as well. Yeah.
All right, you were very enthusiastic about Weaver, so let's go for him. So, as you already saw, with Warlock, here also the base damage got increased and Swarm Beetle's base attack time got improved.
Yeah, they're really good changes to Weaver. As I said before, it's going to make him stronger in lane, easier to CS with. And the Swarm Beetle's attack time is actually means people will take more damage from these things attacking you.
Very
so just be more aware of it.
I like that.
HP is going to be ticking down.
Yeah, Weaver is a very useful hero,
Yeah.
Then, soon we are through. Only 4 more heroes to go. Amazing. Next up we have Wind Ranger. Their Shackle Shot is now disjointable.
Woohoo!
I have no idea what this means. Sorry, I have really no idea what this means. Shackle Shot speed increased from 1515 to 1650. Shackle Shot angle got reduced. Whoa, okay, whatever that means. And like a small angle reduction overall to hit, probably. And power shot speed no longer decreases by a small amount as it goes through units.
The shackle shot being disjointable is really big. Basically what that means is if she is shackling you and it's travelling in the air and you blink sideways or wherever,
I was dead, now I get
it will not shackle you.
Yeah.
So if you're playing like a co-op or an anti-mage as well and a shackle's going, you're going to get shackled. So you have to even be careful as an AM as to where you're blinking to, say if a shackle's coming in. So the fact it's disjointable is really good because Shackle Shot in itself is a stupid ability. It really is a stupid ability. The speeding, it's actually got a speed increase, which means even though you can disjoint it, it's going to be quicker in the air, so you've got to be a bit quicker with your fingers. If you're close range and you're playing like a blink hero, like Quap or Anti-Mage, you have a cast time on a blink.
Yep.
It might be a bit harder, but if it's from a distance, you should be fine. The angle...
now I get it, yeah. That's why they reduced the angle, yeah.
It basically means the angle as to where your target is to a tree and where the shackle's coming in from.
Yeah, it's kind of... Because it's not... because it's now disjointable, you have to slightly decrease the angle so you can less easily maybe grab heroes in between, I think. So this is like a balancing between these two, right?
Yeah. And this is a bit of a buff, really. The power shot speed no longer decreases by a small amount as it goes through units, so it's a consistent power shot now.
Yeah. Very nice.
A buff there, but I would say overall nerfs there to win ranger, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially the disjoint, that's a very big nerf. Good one, though. Needed.
Okay, yeah. Then Winter Wyvern. There it was temporarily removed from Captain's Mode because of the following. Cold Ember's cooldown got increased, Arctic Burn slow got reduced, and Winter's Curse primary and secondary units are now immune to all damage from their enemies. In addition, Winter's Curse secondary units now have 50 attack speed bonus, Winter's Curse AoE increased, Winter's Curse cooldown got increased, Winter's Curse duration got increased, and they fixed Winter Curse's lingering if the primary target died.
The Winter's Curse biggest change there, actually, and I think that's why they've made it bold there. Winter's Curse was really, really stupid. It was like an automatic lockdown of whatever target you wanted.
Yeah.
Potentially more, and they took damage from not just your team but each other. It's a massive nerf, actually. The primary and second units now immune to all damage from their enemies. It means basically that all the enemy heroes aren't going to be able to do any damage to them. So the curse in itself isn't as strong as it was. You can still lock down people and do damage to them, which is still very strong. You're giving the secondary units a 50 attack speed bonus, so to compensate from the fact the other enemies aren't going to be attacking the primary and secondary targets, they're giving the secondary units 50 attack speed bonus, which is okay. And to make up for this further nerf, they're giving it a bigger AoE increase. But they're increasing the cooldown. That cooldown's actually very big.
Yeah, that's pretty big. From 110 to 20 to from 90 to 100. Yeah.
Fix Winter's Curse lingering with primary target.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But I don't know whether this. It's good they've removed it from Captain's Mode because they've redesigned it. But
yeah.
We'll see. I think the more important thing here is the Arctic Burn slow early on, because that was really strong.
Yeah.
Really, really strong. But yeah, this hero's definitely been nerfed.
Totally nerfed, yeah. She was also in higher MMR and also pro games used a lot, right? So.
Yeah, Winter's Curse still does stuff though, which is very useful. Lockdown, obviously.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Not surprised they've removed it still from Captain's Mode.
Alright, only 2 more heroes to go, then we did it. Amazing. Next up is Witch Doctor. Their Maledict mana cost got reduced from a constant 120 to a scalable value range, and Maledict's cast range got increased from 525 to 575.
It's a nice buff to Maledict there, actually, because it's often quite hard to cast. It's got a very long cast animation, but because you can do it from a higher range now, you're a lot more likely to land it. Mana cost is obviously good. You're going to go for Witch Doctor a bit more sustain.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah. So
also for early game, that's really nice.
Very nice buffs to Witch Doctor there.
Cool.
I would definitely advise on maxing Maledict first above cast in most cases. And
last but not least, Wraith King. Their Vampiric Aura can now be toggled to make the lifesteal for heroes only. That's cool.
Why did they not have this up anyway? Because the reason why people would think, well, why would you want to turn the lifesteal off? The thing is, if you're playing a carry in the safe lane and you have something like Vampiric Aura on, the creeps actually lifesteal, which pushes the lane. It means your creeps are going to be stronger than theirs, and
that was super annoying in safe lane.
Yeah, which is why people only put one level in it and leveled stats even crit. And some people wouldn't even level the crit because coupled with the lifesteal and the crit on creeps, your lane is going to be constantly pushed, and the off lane is going to get EXP. So the fact you can toggle it off is a big change, and it's going to allow him. It's a bit like the Kunkka change that you can toggle the Tidebringer. It means both heroes are not going to be able to push lane as hard if they don't want to, and they're going to be able to farm at a safer range, keep the wave back, stop the off laner from getting EXP. So it's a good change. I think it should have been done before. Same to the Kunkka one as well.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So if you can maybe for us quickly wrap up again, if you think about now all these changes we have discussed in high in-depth detail, what do you think in general will have the most impact?
The most impact changes. I think the biggest buff I've seen this patch to a hero is Pudge. Definitely.
Yeah.
Pudge is ridiculously strong now. I think the biggest nerf I've seen in this patch is Huskar, because that hero is completely dead.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
In a way, a bit of a shame, but I never liked watching him in pro games. It seemed a very... Basically, if you see a Huskar being picked, it normally is GG because they're just punishing a poorly drafted team.
Yeah.
Invoker, I think, is probably the biggest change for the mid laners. Invoker level 1 is very strong, and it allows some of his spells to come online a lot earlier.
Yeah. Which
is really good. I'm not going to say any of the reworks are the biggest changes because I don't know how effective they're going to be.
Yeah, we need to see over time what this means. Yeah.
But yeah, the Pudge change is definitely a big buff, which I was not really expecting, but it's good. The Shadow Fiend, the Tusk, and the Wind Ranger nerfs are good. I agree with them. I think they're going to work out pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm not the one I'm most unsure of is Ursa. I'm not sure why that hero's been buffed, but
totally, yeah.
We'll see. And I think the most interesting Agnum's effects is Venge is definitely one of them. I know a lot of people think Venge is a very basic hero, doesn't do a lot, but
she's super useful. Yeah.
Her aura when she dies is actually very useful. Obviously, you don't want to play her to then plan to be dead, but she's got a very useful skill set. And now that she's got that same skill set while even dead, is actually really, really strong.
This is really strong, yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice patch. A lot of nice changes to heroes. Some interesting reworks. A lot of pro players are probably not going to be streaming on Twitch and things like that.
Yeah, because it's such a massive change, yeah.
Yeah, they're all going to be adjusting to this new patch and seeing what they can make of it, what's viable, what's not. The thing I'd like to see most is this dual lane mid in the pro scene being abolished, because it is really boring.
Yeah.
Because before playing a mid laner, being a good mid laner would show that you have the individual ability to win a lane. It would show individual skill. It would show that if you win lane over another mid laner and you have the weaker hero, or it's an equal lineup, it would show how well you're doing. But now it's sort of a bigger reflection on, you know, if you picked SF and you've also got a Bane helping you out mid in the pro scene, then you're going to win the lane anyway. It doesn't matter how skilled you are, really. I mean, if you can CS and you can, shadow raise, you're good to go. So it would be good to see the mid lane become more of a test of individual skill again, rather than just dual lanes.
Absolutely.
I'd like to see from this patch. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for this very, very informative, in-depth analysis of all the heroes for the Balance of Power update, the 6.86 patch.
You're welcome.
It was very, very nice also for me, because for some heroes I don't play them much, I just try them out, and also to hear from a more experienced player what this means is really, really informative. Also for you guys, if you like this, please support us, please support Rain and me, and like this video, share it, and with this we are motivated to make more of these very interesting analysis videos, and hopefully also cast in the future. And with that, again, thank you very much. Thank you, Rain.
It's alright, thank you.
And yeah, thumbs up, and see you guys next time.